The first snow came earlier than expected. A blizzard had rolled over the mountains overnight, burying the narrow road in white and cutting off all contact with the outside world. Elise Harper, bundled in a worn coat and wool scarf, stared out the frosted window of the tiny log cabin she'd rented for a solitary weekend escape. Her breath fogged the glass, her hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa gone cold. What was supposed to be a short break to reset her mind from a demanding job and a recent heartbreak had suddenly turned into a forced retreat from the world. Elise had always been the kind of woman who carried her burdens quietly. At 31, she worked as a school librarian in Denver, loved Jane Austen novels, and had never owned a pair of high heels. Life had taught her the value of self-reliance. But that morning, as she opened the cabin door and saw the snow piled halfway up the porch railing, she realized, she might need help this time. The storm had taken down the power lines, killed the Wi-Fi, and her phone had no signal. Her car was buried, and she had just enough food for another day or two. It was only when she stepped outside to shovel a small path toward the road that she noticed smoke curling from the chimney of the cabin across the pine grove. She hadn't realized someone was staying there. She debated for a long moment, should she disturb whoever it was? But her pride gave way to practicality. She needed help. Grabbing her scarf tighter, Elise trudged through the thigh-deep snow toward the other cabin. She knocked twice, her knuckles stinging with cold. The door opened slowly, and there stood a man, tall, broad-shouldered, in a flannel shirt and worn jeans, with snow-damp tousled hair and the kind of eyes that held quiet storms of their own. "Hi," Elise said, trying not to shiver. I think I might be a little stuck." The man gave a gentle nod and stepped aside. "Come in before you freeze." His name was Jack. "Just Jack," he'd said. His voice was warm and low, his smile faint but kind. The cabin was larger inside than it looked, wood-burning stove glowing, soft blankets, a half-read copy of To Kill a Mockingbird open on the table. Over tea, Elise explained her situation. Jack listened patiently, occasionally nodding. When she finished, he offered her a plate of warm stew and the use of his emergency generator, insisting she stay for a while to warm up. "It's not safe to go back out now," he said. "Looks like we're snowed in for a couple of days." At first, their conversations were brief, polite. Elise was cautious, and Jack respected that. But as the hours melted into a full day, and then two, their walls began to come down. She discovered he loved old jazz records and baked a mean banana bread. He found out she quoted Shakespeare when nervous and carried a journal everywhere, even scribbling her thoughts by candlelight. By the third night, Elise was laughing again. Really laughing. Jack had made her tea and played an old vinyl of Ella Fitzgerald. The warmth of the cabin was no longer just from the fire. It was something else, something she hadn't felt in a long time, safe, seen, appreciated. Still, something about Jack remained elusive. He was generous, well-read, thoughtful, too polished for a man hiding out in the mountains. She'd caught glimpses of expensive watches in the drawer and a sleek laptop under a flannel blanket. But he never spoke of his past or what he did. He listened more than he shared. Curiosity gnawed at her, but she didn't push. After all, she had her own scars. On the fifth day, the snowplows finally reached their road. The isolation lifted. Jack helped Elise dig out her car and refill her propane tank. As she packed to leave, a quiet sadness settled over her. She had not expected to find peace, or someone who felt like home, in the middle of nowhere. Jack stood by the porch as she loaded her last bag. "You'll be okay?" he asked. She smiled. "Yeah. Thanks to you." He nodded, then hesitated. "Elise." She turned. "If I told you something crazy, would you believe me?" She tilted her head, half smiling. "Try me." He took a breath. "I came up here because I was tired of being seen for my money. I'm Jack Thorne, CEO of Thorne Tech. She blinked. Wait. Thorntech. The software company? He nodded. I needed to disappear. Just for a while. No boardrooms. No fake friendships. Just quiet. Elise stared at him. Not in disbelief. But with a softness that surprised even herself. So, you're a millionaire hiding in a flannel shirt and cooking banana bread? He chuckled. Guilty. She shook her head, still smiling. That's not the craziest thing I've heard this week. Jack looked at her with quiet intensity. I didn't expect to meet anyone out here. But I'm glad I did. You didn't know who I was, and you still saw me. Really saw me. She stepped closer, eyes glistening. I didn't see your money, Jack. I saw your heart. There, in the hush of melting snow and morning light, something shifted. Two hearts, once guarded, now open. No promises, no fairy tale vows. Just a shared truth, raw and real. They exchanged numbers. A hug that lingered. Then Elise drove off, back to her world, one that now looked a little brighter. Weeks passed. They talked daily, texts, calls, video chats. Jack came down to the city, quietly attending a school fundraiser Elise organized. She came up again to the cabin for a weekend. This time, not as a stranger. One snowy evening, months later, Elise stood once more on that porch. Jack opened the door. No flannel this time. A simple navy sweater, his smile the same. I brought the banana bread, she said, holding up a container. He grinned. And I've got the tea ready. They sat by the fire, side by side. Not as strangers. Not even as friends. But as two people who had found something rare, not just love, but understanding. A quiet connection, born in a storm, that had weathered the thaw. In the end, it wasn't Jack's fortune or Elise's resilience that brought them together. It was kindness. It was showing up when someone knocks at your door in the cold. It was listening, sharing, and choosing to believe in something new, even after being broken. Because sometimes, the snow doesn't just bury. Sometimes, it reveals. And in a quiet cabin, in the middle of nowhere, two hearts found warmth not from fire, but from each other's.